You know, it wasn't for the first time that I was touring by train. Sometimes we do that when it makes sense. Wherever possible, I actually prefer it when I'm taking two saxophones, because to get two saxophones into the cabin of an aeroplane these days is quite difficult, whereas on a train it's no problem. So.
It's been very interesting. I think, it's thrown up issues that maybe we would have expected. I think that, the travelling by train, particularly from the UK to Europe, it's more expensive. You know, if we were to take an example, we're here in Bremen for Jazz Ahead. Now, I was talking to Jill from Glasgow Jazz Festival in Gateshead, and she flew to Bremen. I know she told me she bought a ticket in Ryanair for £56 return. So Evan and I took a Eurostar, had to stay over in Brussels, then took a train to Dortmund, and then took a train to Bremen. So I can't remember what all of that cost, but certainly a lot more than £56.
Yeah. The situation at the moment where flights are so cheap that people are basically abusing the cheapness of flights to fly halfway across Europe for a stag night or this kind of thing is clearly hopelessly bad for the environment. And if aviation fuel was taxed in the same way as other fuels, then the problem of cheap flights would start to disappear.
The other thing that was very interesting was when we were trying to put the tour together, and I was talking to promoters, they were very interested in having Evan come and do the solo, but for some of them, until I started talking about we wanted to travel by train, and it wasn't so much even at the cost, because we hadn't worked out the cost by that time, but it was more that people are so used to automatically thinking of air travel and cheap air travel that, trying to work out by train and what the cost was, it just needed a little bit more work. So I think there's a big exercise to be done by EGN, maybe with support from Julie's Bicycle, just maybe going back to basics and talking about how to put a tour together, and maybe placing more of a responsibility on promoters to say, let's stop this practice of artists coming to do one concert. Let's try and work together more. What are the mechanisms? What's the forums that we can generate as promoters to join these things up? Because I definitely think we've lost that. I got the impression that with one or two promoters, though, they weren't quite sure how to interpret the rider, So there seemed to be a lot of emphasis on displays of organic food and produce, for example. Not sure what you're going to do with that in a green room. So I think maybe it's making it simpler for the promoter as well, to say maybe it's a simple list of things to provide and how they should provide it. Maybe in a sense the brief at the moment was too open, and people were trying to interpret it in different ways.
In some cases this worked very, very well, and in other cases that was a rather literal interpretation of the manifesto. I haven't seen the original document, so I don't know quite how specific it is, but I think that some account needs to be taken of the experience of promoters and the experience of the musicians, and especially in the case where the musician and the promoter already have a prior relationship, then it's strange to come and impose a set of requirements which are not usual in that relationship.
Where the hotel is. So I think it's, it's just making sure that whatever means of transport or whatever food you provide, that actually there's the same care and attention that you're looking after the artist. I think really that's what they want, is to, you got to make it easy for them, because you want them to concentrate on the music and the art and the concert and the gig. So you don't want them to have to worry about other things. So as long as you can do that and follow a green agenda, then that's okay with the artist, I think. And the other thing I think is very useful and is really worth doing was the whole thing about making sure that the public also, you know, if there was a cafe or a bar or something in the venue, that they were also, you know, in a way that was more important, I felt, was to say that, okay, there are things you can do in the venue to make it more environmentally friendly in terms of the catering and the food and the drink and the transportation for the public, incentivising them to take public transport, to cycle, to... I think the one thing I take away from the experience is to make me think about what we do in my festival, and to make me think also about what I do as a professional working within the music industry, to travel around Europe. And, you know, do I need to travel? Would be one question sometimes. How do I travel? You know, can I take the train? What do I do when I travel? How do I, you know, conduct my business in the sense of observing some of the rules that we've done in this tour? And so I guess it's made me question. What I take away is the fact that at every time that I'm travelling, then I should ask myself certain questions, and I should ask my staff certain questions. And you know, because what we have to do is move from a situation of these things being, you know, something that's unusual to something that's normal, and you know, and that takes all of us to individually, to start with, think about that, and then collectively move forward.
So for myself, I obviously believe that the planet is in jeopardy, that our future generations are counting on us to do something about changing carbon emissions, all the rest of it. It really is urgent at this point. The polar ice caps are melting. What more sign? You know, 10 species disappear a day. God knows. You know, how much bigger do the signs have to be before people start to take an interest in the environment?